But we saw what we saw. The trial was televised. His actions and his dismissiveness and disassociation and distance from the black community.
But none of that means that he was guilty. Yo, what is happening? Welcome to Burbank TV Reactions. I go by the name of Charm. Today, we are going to be reacting to Stephen A. Smith. He said some things about the OJ Simpson BET Awards memorial. I don't know. I didn't watch it. And a lot of people ain't feeling that. A lot of people mad about it. A lot of people have, went in on Stephen A. Smith, including Faison Love. Faison Love went all the way in. But let's go ahead and take a look about, or look at what he actually said. And we're going to, discuss that and discuss what he's talking about. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right into it. Without further ado, Stephen A. Smith.
Something else I noticed that caught my eye. And I'm sure y'all saw it. And if you didn't see it, I wouldn't encourage you to go back and see it because I'm pretty pissed off about it. Did y'all see the in memoriam segment paying tribute to, quote, black excellence in terms of that we are...
Just real quick, I haven't actually watched the BET Awards in like years. I'm a firm believer that BET actually sold us out. I don't know. I just feel like it's not good anymore. It was good when they had the videos on there, 106 in Park. And they had, certain shows like the Wayans Brothers. Those were good times with BET. Now I just like, nah, no thanks. I'll pass.
We unfortunately lost this year, the individuals that we lost. The tribute included nods to luminaries like Clarence Avant, Willie Mays, Lou Gossett Jr., Dexter Scott King, just to name a few, okay? However, there was a notable silence from the crowd when the image of OJ Simpson appeared on the big screen. You may recall OJ Simpson died this past April after a battle with cancer. Yes, he is known for being a Hall of Famer on the football field, out of USC and ultimately with the Buffalo Bills in his NFL career, but he was also accused of double murder.
The key word there was accused.
His ex-wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and Ronald Goldman, back in 1994, the 30-year anniversary was just the other day, last month, June 12th to be exact. OJ was acquitted of those charges in 1995, but later found liable for their deaths a few...
Once again, key word there, acquitted.
...years later in a civil trial. And the families of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman obviously criticized the BET Awards for paying tribute to Simpson. As well, they should. I don't blame them one bit. And I'm going to say this to y'all. What's up? What's up? See, Jesse Collins Production Company, same man that produced the Super Bowl halftime show. Phenomenal producer. Produced the BET Awards. Okay? Constance Orlando, an executive VP, no doubt she was involved.
I mean, from what I heard, the BET Awards were trash. It was ratchet, raunchy, and whatever other R word you can think of.
As an executive VP for BET, Scott Mills, he runs BET as well, has been doing an exceptional job. I'm not here to cast any aspersions on them as individuals and the wonderful, wonderful work.
Hey, real quick, before we go any further in this, let me be clear about my stance on OJ and the whole thing that went down back in the 90s. Now, I was a young teenager back then. I think I was probably like maybe 14, 15, going on 15, something like that. And I seen the chase live. Really didn't care too much about the trial. Really didn't care too much about the outcome of the trial. Hell, I live in Ohio, not from California. I really don't care about what was going on out there. OJ Simpson played football. I knew he played football. It was before my time, but I know he was like one of the greatest running backs in the NFL has ever had. But as far as the Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman thing, my take on it has always been that OJ either A, didn't do it himself, meaning he probably paid somebody or knew somebody that did it, or B, there was two people that killed those people It might have been OJ and somebody else, or C, it was just completely somebody else. All right. That's always been my stance on it. I really don't care. Honestly, that's my take on it. I really don't care. Did he do it? I don't know. So that's my stance on it. Before anybody starts to try to come at me down in the comments section, talk about he did this and he did that, I really don't care. But at the same time, he was acquitted in a court of law. I mean, one of these days, Ray Lewis, is Ray Lewis in the Hall of Fame yet? He may be. He was once accused of murder and acquitted.
That they've done over the years. Let me be very, very clear. It's not for me to judge. Their body of work speaks for itself. I'm just talking about this one thing. And, you know, you got Tia Mowry up there. She's giving an introduction, paying tribute to all of this. And then OJ's face pops up on the screen and you could hear the audience aghast. Clearly, everyone didn't approve of that. Clearly, most people were shocked by that, and they should be. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to call it like we see it. In the eyes of most people,
I was actually shocked to find out that there's actually a lot more to the story of the whole OJ Simpson thing. There's actually a lot more to the story and it's for anybody to find out. You can just look it up, YouTube, Google. There's all different kinds of articles and all kinds of other things. You guys got to dig into it sometimes, because I guarantee you what we know from just like the media and stuff like that, that's only the surface. There's a lot more stuff underneath.
Regardless of an acquittal, OJ Simpson is a double murderer. Yes, he ultimately was.
We don't know that he was acquitted, so you can't say he was a double murderer, or he was a double murderer if he was acquitted in a court of law. Just because he was found liable in the civil suit, that doesn't mean he did it. I think did he own the apartment or whatever it was, condo or whatever that she lived in? Was that his property? That party? And not to mention, when you go to the whatever court that does the suing stuff, I ran into a brain fart. But there's a lower bar than there is for like a felony conviction, like a criminal case, a civil trial. That's what it is. So when you go to a civil trial, the bar is a lot lower. The burden of proof is a lot lower. So necessarily, you don't really have to prove that he was liable for it or he did it for them to win that case. And I think it was a little bit of revenge for him getting acquitted.
Was convicted in a civil trial, and
by the way, if I remember right, dude's family never got any of the money that they actually won in that acquittal or that civil trial.
Obliged to pay $33.5 million to the Goldman family, which he never really did till the day he died.
Oh, there you go.
Never happened. But we all viewed him as a double murderer. He was ostracized.
We didn't all view him as a
pariah.
I really didn't care.
By the vast majority of American citizens. Why? Because regardless of what people want us to believe, unlike most situations, unfortunately, we saw the trial. And yeah, the glove didn't fit, so you must acquit. And the late, great Johnny Cochran pulled that off. And I've had Carl Douglas, the famed attorney working on Johnny Cochran's team during the OJ trial, on this show on a few occasions. And he talked about the preponderance of evidence that validated a civil suit against OJ Simpson, but not necessarily a criminal suit, because there were holes in the argument that were left by the LAPD and beyond, basically going out of their way to ensure that a person that was guilty in their eyes would be convicted, and it backfired on them. We know that story. But in the end, Nicole Brown Simpson is gone. Ronald Goldman is gone.
Now, I do want you to think about what he just said, because he was actually right on that. The DA's office was actually up to some really shady stuff when it came to trying to convict OJ Simpson, including, from what I just learned, actually doctoring phone records, like making fake phone records and giving them to the defense.
The Brown family, rather.
And from what I just actually read, that's actually in the trial transcripts. Johnny Cochran asked something about having the phone records admitted into evidence, and somebody from the prosecution asked him which phone records. And I guess he replied, the ones that you gave us. Is there more? So I don't know. That's kind of wild.
Is still around. The Goldman family, Fred Goldman, who I've always had a strong level of sympathy for, is still around. And you're OJ Simpson. I know this is not popular to say. And two of my boys, because I love Mace and I love Cameron, and I know what respect they have for OJ. I'm not casting any aspersions on anybody like that. They have their relationship with them, and that's their business. More power to them. My attitude is this. OJ Simpson never gave a shit about black people until he was indicted.
But what's that got to do with?
Never gave a damn.
What's that got to do with his memorial or?
You know?
Or
you look at
his murder
Jay-Z's
trial.
album. I'm not black, I'm OJ. Okay. That was what OJ said. I ain't black, I'm OJ. Never gave a damn. Never gave a damn about black folks until he was indicted on murder charges. Never.
I wonder why nobody ever talks about like OJ Simpson possibly having CTE. I wonder. I'm gonna have to look this up. I wonder if they actually dissected his brain when he passed away to see if he had CTE. Because I've seen some like interview, like some behind the scenes interviews of him, and he didn't act right. He reminded me of kind of like of my grandmother right before she went and had to go into a nursing home. And what I mean by that is like dementia kind of. And he just didn't seem like he was all the way there. Not to mention he played in the NFL when it was still a gladiator league. So
never gave a damn about black folks until he was ostracized by and large by society as a whole. Never gave a damn. And it just amazes me how we would sit up there and I'm looking at it, forget the fact that in memoriam he was celebrated, he was mentioned, what have you. I mean,
Stephen A. Smith's initials are SAS. Oh, sassy ass.
Looking at it from the standpoint, how should the family of Carl Weathers feel? How should the family of Willie Mays feel? How should the family of Bill Cobbs? Y'all don't know about that fabulous actor that he was. Ghost of Mississippi, New Jack City, and a plethora of other films that he was a part of. He was a legendary figure. How's his family supposed to feel when they're mentioned in the same breath as O.J. Simpson? Think about that for a second. It's the BET Awards. I mean, I know that it's no longer owned by Bob Johnson. I get that part. I understand that in 2000, all right, I'm just pulling from my notes here to make sure that everybody knows that I kind of know. I'm going to do my research here. Paramount, then Viacom, 2000. They were sold by Bob Johnson for $3 billion. We get all of that. And I'm quite sure, I don't know this definitively, but it stands to reason that black folks ain't running Paramount. But you have black individuals in charge of BET, which is fair, which is the right thing to do. I'm just sitting up here absolutely positively flabbergasted that whether it's Scott Mills, whether it's Connie Orlando, whether it's Jesse Collins or whomever, how do we let that happen? How do we let that happen? And we got to call it like we see it. There's just no reason to celebrate this man. Okay, yeah, he should rest in peace.
I mean, why though?
He was talk about him again.
He was a great
issue.
NFL running back, and yes, he was accused of murder. Yeah, I can say it. He was accused of murder, and he was acquitted, found not guilty, not a hung jury like the YNW Melly case. Not there was no jury tampering that we know of, anyways, and. So why shouldn't he be celebrated? Are they going to have this same smoke and this same argument for Ray Lewis? I mean, where I mean, seriously, who else? There's been where other celebrities were accused of stuff that were acquitted. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's tons. What about the Matt Ariza guy? He wasn't charged with grape, but he was accused of it. Then come to find out, he wasn't even in town when it happened or something like that. I don't know. So, I mean, are they going to have that same smoke for him just because he was accused of it?
be given a reason to talk about him again. We certainly shouldn't be celebrating OJ Simpson. I'm sorry. Not when two people were damn near decapitated. And he was the prime suspect.
Just one.
And we know that an overzealous police department effed up the case, which ultimately got him acquitted because he had one of the greatest lawyers this nation has ever known in Johnny Cochran, the late, great Johnny Cochran. OJ never gave a damn. He hung around white people. He lived, that white culture. He didn't give a damn about his own. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You want to go to golf clubs and be members of golf clubs and all this stuff and live a posh, affluent lifestyle? Hell, we all trying to achieve that. I know I am.
I was going to say, Steve A probably does the same thing.
But what you never hear me say is that I'm not black. I'm Stephen A. Oh, I'm very black.
He's sassy.
Most of us are.
It's
not
sass.
all of us. I'm talking about in our spirit and in our soul. It's never something we want to detach ourselves from.
Saint
that
and
was
sinner,
OJ
huh?
Simpson. And when we do shit like this, it stains all of us because we're giving tacit approval for his alleged acts when we shove that aside. This ain't like the jury letting him off in a criminal case where they saw holes in the argument, where they knew the LAPD engaged in unethical behavior. And
I mean, just think, he has to stop and think about what he's saying. He's making the argument for everybody else. There was holes in the case. It wasn't just that the LAPD messed up. It wasn't just that the DA's office messed up. There was holes in the case to begin with. That's what I'm saying. There's actually a lot more to everything if you dig below the surface. Deeper than the movie. Well, the movie was just, a circus thing, but still, for people to get paid. But still, you dig deeper, you will find out there is a whole lot of stuff beneath the surface when it came to this trial and this murder.
And on top of it all, you had the backdrop of the LAPD and how they were treating citizens in LA at that time and for decades prior to that, which had basically sullied and alienated the black community against LAPD for years. This is not that case. This is the BET Awards. This is a celebration of blackness, of black culture, of black entertainment, of black excellence. And when you do something like this, you got folks outside the community see that shit? TMZ talking about it, NBC talking about it, CNBC talking about it, CBS talking about it, USA Today talking about it, PBS, everybody but PBS.
I mean, honestly, that's probably what the BET Awards wanted, because nobody really talks about it anymore.
Happens, how do you think that benefits us?
I mean, let's keep it real. Who talks about the BET Awards anymore, really? I mean, we're talking about it now just because of all the ratchetness and what happened with the OJ thing. Who's to say that this actually wasn't planned by the people that were running the award show so they can get more publicity for the award show? So people will watch it on the replay.
We don't get into nearly as much as we should.
I mean, that would explain that would help explain anyways, all the ratchet dresses and whatever people was wearing. Somebody said Saucy Santana had on a garbage bag with some ashy legs. I don't know.
Did it ever occur to anybody to remind yourself of the responsibility we have? I'm not blaming any of the folks there in the audience. They didn't know. And even though BET is owned by Paramount, it's still BET. Black folks everywhere, all up in there. And that's what we celebrate. We, as a community, are going to be held accountable for that. Subliminally, subconsciously. People going to look at us with raised eyebrows and think as a community, oh, you down with that? You cool with that? That's what you celebrate. The collective whole is what matters. Not one individual. God rest his soul. God will deal with him because God knows what he did and what he didn't do. It ain't for me to judge or anybody else to judge, but we saw what we saw. The trial was televised. His actions and his dismissiveness and disassociation and distance from the black community.
But none of that means that he was guilty or that he actually did it.
Was self-inflicted. He created that. He wanted nothing to do with us. Where's this affinity?
So what? That has nothing to do with the murder
Where's the
trial.
evidence that he ever gave?
It sounds like to me, Stephen A. is a little more butthurt about OJ denying his blackness. You know, I mean, if that's what he wanted to, if that's what he did, then that's what he wanted to do. Who cares? Who cares? I mean, to be honest, before this trial, none of us really cared about OJ. Really, we saw him in the Hertz rental car commercials and the Naked Gun movies, and thought he was funny in those. But that's it. Nobody cared about OJ. No black people cared about OJ before this trial.
Gave a shit about us. I just don't understand. And I think that when it comes to something like that, you got to guard against that. I'd love to know if Tia Mowry knew anything about that. Because had that been me, and they asked me to MC that segment, and I saw that OJ was a part of it, I would not have done it.
But they didn't ask you.
And if I was on that stage and his face popped up, I would have been mic'd up on camera, and I would have been like, I don't know whose idea that was, but I don't have anything to do with that. I didn't know. That's what I would have said. Now, everybody ain't me, and I understand that. And I'm not judging in regards to her or anybody else. I'm just saying, come on. Come on. We all suspect we know what he did, but nobody definitively knows what he did but God himself, OJ himself, and of course the souls of Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson.
Well, there might be some other people that knew what
God to
happened.
judge. But I got to tell you, that was a bad look on the part of the BET Awards. It really, really was. Don't get me started with all that twerking and all of that stuff. I had to tell my daughter who was on the phone with me. I made.
All right, we're going to cut it off right there at the twerking because I don't agree with that either. I got daughters, man. So anyways, yeah, I mean, what did any of that, what he had to say, especially towards the end, what did any of that have to do with OJ's memorial or him getting accused of murder and then acquitted? What did it have to do with any of that? It sounds like he was just ranting just to rant. Now, I will summarize a couple things. Well, and like I said, people were actually going in on Stephen A for this take, and including Faison Love, man. He went all the way in. But I am gonna I don't really want to get into the whole OJ Simpson, Nicole Brown thing. I already told you guys how I felt about it, what I think might have happened. I'm not sure. I really don't care. But here's another story that I heard, and it actually sounds very, very plausible. Okay. There's actually some proof to this story being true, too. There is actually, matter of fact, there's actually somebody who confessed to the murders. You never really hear about it that much, but he actually confessed to them. He was a serial killer known as Glen Rogers, accused or suspected of killing like 70 people across the country, and he actually knew Nicole Brown Simpson, and I think they're saying he knew OJ too. He was in the same area the night she died. I guess they were in the same bar together before that, and I guess like 11 years ago, his brother actually ratted him out for that. And the guy is actually serving life in prison in Florida for other murders. And I think they said he was convicted in California for other murders too. So yeah, it's crazy. Look, I got a clip right here of about Glen Rogers. Let me get it all queued up to the part here. No, that's maybe not it. Hold on. Here we go.
Strange coincidences, a recent meeting, and theories regarding who else might have killed Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman have been suggested. One theory, which was
Okay, yeah. So I do got that queued up. We're gonna go ahead and then just take a look. In this video came out about a year ago. It's called "Why Glen Rogers Confessed to the Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson." He confessed to the murders. Here we go.
presented in the 2012 documentary My Brother the Serial Killer, suggested that the pair were actually murdered by serial killer Glen Edward Rogers. In the documentary, Glen's brother Clay Rogers said, "I'm absolutely certain that my brother killed Nicole Simpson and Ron Goldman." Clay also suggested that Glen had the means and opportunity to kill Nicole and Goldman, as he was working as a house painter in the area when they were murdered. Per ABC News, Glen reportedly told his brother and sister,
according to some detectives, like some private eyes, this Glen Rogers actually called off of work the next morning.
that he met Nicole and noted that she was wealthy.
They got money, they're well off, and I'm taking her down.
In an interview with a criminal
I'm taking her
profiler, Glen
down.
allegedly claimed that OJ Simpson had hired him to steal a pair of earrings and kill his former wife during the robbery. Glen also provided specific details about
See, I mean that kind of fits, right? What did I say? I always thought that OJ may have hired somebody to do it. This guy in this video is claiming that OJ hired the guy to steal some earrings, and kill Nicole. I saw another video where they said the guy was hired as like OJ's muscle, and him and OJ was actually there when it started. And I guess OJ and the Glen Rogers guy, they had Ron outside over by a tree, and I guess the Ron guy was supposed to, or not Ron, but the Glen guy was supposed to be there for to be OJ's muscle or whatever. And I guess OJ was, getting at Ron in his face, and somebody said that Ron pulled a knife and cut OJ on the finger. And OJ didn't run, but he, I guess, walked off, and Glen started beating up Ron. And OJ got in his Bronco and left. That's why the cut on his finger. That's why the blood. Now, he lied about it because he was actually there when it started. He wasn't there when they got killed from this other story, but I guess he was there when it started. And Ron, I guess Glen got mad because OJ left, and I think he took the knife from Ron and stabbed him with his own knife.
the deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman, which further supported his claim that he committed the brutal murders.
They do say that, and I'm not trying to bash Ron Goldman, but they do say that he was actually like a dealer, a street level dealer, and he was taking her some product, even though they try to say her glasses or whatever, but it was her product. Like that story never made sense either. But
ABC News reported that in addition to knowing details,
it makes sense that he's a dealer, but the official story of why he was at her apartment never made sense to me.
about the murders, Rogers was able to draw a detailed picture of the knife he claims to have used to kill the victims. According to ABC News, filmmaker David Monahan said he believes the information provided by Glen's brother. Combined with Glen's confession to the criminal profiler, Monahan believes that this should have been enough to prompt an official investigation into his possible involvement in the murders. However, Ronald Goldman's father, Fred Goldman, disagrees. When asked about the information,
See, that's messed up, because if that was my son and it came out that somebody else may have did it, I want that other person to be investigated too. Don't matter if I already think OJ did it. I want this other person to be investigated too. I want to know for sure. I think the Goldmans were probably just zeroed in on OJ because they know OJ had the money. And if they probably were thinking they were still going to get some of that money after the civil trial. And if it would have been investigated that this other guy actually did it, they probably would have had that civil trial probably could have got overturned.
Presented in the documentary film, Fred said per ABC News, "The fact of the acquittal at the hands of the jury will never wash away this murder from the hands of OJ Simpson, no matter how many Glen Rogers pop up on the media radar screen." Glen Edward Rogers was ultimately arrested 6 weeks after Nicole Brown Simpson and Ronald Goldman were found murdered. Law enforcement officials said he went on a crime spree and is suspected of more than 70 murders throughout the United States, per ABC News. Rogers was convicted of several murders and subsequently sentenced to death in both California and Florida. However, he was never arrested and indicted in Brown Simpson's and Goldman's deaths, nor was he mentioned as a person of interest in those crimes.
Excuse me. I had a long day at work today. But yeah, so I mean, there's that story, and that's very plausible. I mean, the guy's a serial killer, and they know for a fact he knew Nicole Brown Simpson. I guess from what I heard from another investigator that the DA actually interviewed Glen Rogers about it, and when he told him what he told him, they gave him a deal and got him sent to Florida. Got him, sent to Florida to get convicted there, and that's why he's in Florida now instead of in California, because he was captured in California where he had killed people too. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to this story, and the key takeaway to this is OJ Simpson was he was accused of double homicide, but he was ultimately acquitted in a court of law, which means he was not guilty. It doesn't matter what you think he may or may not have did. Stephen A was wrong for it. I think a lot of the smoke that he's getting now is justified. As far as the BET Awards, like I said, I think this was like a publicity stunt on their part. So, I mean, if it was, they're wrong. Maybe they were just trying to do some good. I know they didn't they give it to like Kevin Samuels last year or something like that, or a couple years ago or something like that. I didn't know Kevin Samuels was that big, which, I mean, that's pretty cool. I didn't really, I wasn't really a fan. I watched it because it was kind of like watching a Jerry Springer type. But that's my video for today. I held you guys long enough. Hope you guys enjoyed your 4th of July. Hope you enjoy your rest of the day, whatever day you're watching this. Hopefully this gets thousands of views. We're watching this in the future. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Channel's growing fast. We're trying to build up slowly. And go ahead and hit that bell so you get all the notifications about all the videos that I'm dropping and all that kind of jazz. I'm not starting to sound just like all the other YouTubers now. But it's your boy Charm, Burbank TV Reactions, BurbankClothing.com. I'm up out of here. Peace.